Welcome back, class. This is your Catia mentor, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create an assembly drawing. So let's go ahead and insert a drawing, and it loads it. Double click. Okay, let me zoom out a bit. So I'm going to change the sheet size and add a title block and border. Okay, so let's go to page layout, and I'm going to go with the ANSI standard. You can go with ISO International or a Japanese standard. We'll stick with the American standard, and I'm going to go with the large sheet F, and I'm going to pick a title block, template, create, and I'm going to apply, and it'll take a few seconds for it to generate the title block and border. And we're also going to insert a revision block. So let's go ahead and add a revision block. So anytime you make a change, you want to document it. So apply. Here you would place the initials of the approver. It can be you or maybe your supervisor. And OK. Now you can make changes, but you would have to go into the background. Notice I can't make any changes to it, so you have to go into the background, edit background, and then you can double click and make your changes. Same thing in the title block. You can double click now and make the changes. So think of the background as maybe the case of your smartphone. And now we're going to go over and turn on the screen. Go edit sheet. So now we're on the screen and we can bring in pictures. In our case, we're going to bring in views. We can zoom in, zoom out. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with an isometric view of our assembly, this lunar lander. So just click on any flat surface or plane. It'll generate the view. Click on the sheet. It'll generate it, and right click properties. Let's change the scale to 1/16. I'll move it over. And now let's bring in another view. I do have an exploded view. If you want to see the video on how to create an exploded view, click the link below. Okay, so select the exploded view, click on a flat surface or plane. There's the exploded view. And let's right click properties, and let's go 1/16 scale. You can also type in a decimal if you like 0.5, 0.25, 0.125, 0.0625, instead of using a ratio for your scale. And just to show you that I do have an exploded view, there it is. Right click on set to deactivate that view. Alright, so now let's say we wanted to bring in a top view of the assembly. Sometimes one ISO view of an assembly is good enough, but sometimes when it's a complicated assembly or there's a lot going on, you may need more than one view. So let's bring in a top view. Click to generate, right click properties, and let's go 1/16. And here I'm going to show you now how to create a breakout view. Alright, so let's go ahead and create a breakout view to see what's inside. So I'm going to go to the middle, click. You can, as long as it's a closed profile, it can be a triangle, rectangle, or any closed profile. It'll generate once you close it, click. So it should generate it. Oh, a preview. So instead of removing this whole chunk represented here in this rectangular prism, let's go ahead and just go slightly above the tanks. Okay. There it is. So it broke out a piece visually from the top panel to expose the tanks inside. Okay, so this is an assembly drawing. Now let's create a detailed drawing. Okay, so let's go and create a second sheet. So now let's create a drawing of a single part. This is referred to as a detailed drawing. So let's go ahead and create a detailed drawing of just the floor panel. So let's pick the floor panel. I'm going to hold on to the control key, select floor panel, let go of the control key and pick any flat surface or plane to generate the view of the floor panel. Now typically you want to use the same scale, but in this case I'm going to use a different scale. Let's go 1/8. Typically, you want to use a sheet for each part. If you're dealing with a very large sheet, you can put more than one part. I'm just going to create a view of the floor panel and a side view. And let's go ahead and throw in some dimensions. Now, also when you work for a company, they should already have a setting for what type of dimensions you want to use. You want to use millimeters, you want to use inches. The only time I've seen anybody use feet is in architecture. They use feet, inches, 10 feet, 6 inches, for example. But I think they pretty much now uh, in these modern days are going with inches. Okay, so to change this, let's go and go to Tools, go to Object Properties. There it is. So typically I'll throw in all the dimensions, and if I need to change them all, so I'm going to go from feet to inches, I just select everything. And then here, instead of feet, inches, I'm going over to inches, and you can see now it's been converted to inches. You can also change the decimal place. Okay. Alright, just wanted to show you how to create dimensions. Alright, so now let's create a view of the COPV tank. So let's create another sheet, sheet number 3. Let's go ahead and create another view. So let's go to View Layout, From View, and let's go down to the tanks. Okay, so COPV tank. Hold on to the Control key, select the tank. Let go of the Control key, pick a flat surface. There's our tank. And click to generate. And I'm going to go ahead and change the scale from 1. Let's go 1/4. See what we get. Yep. And again, you want to use the same scale throughout, but in some cases it's better to go with different scales depending on the size of the parts. And if you want, you can throw in an isometric view, right? All right, one more thing I want to show you. Actually, before I do that, let's go back to sheet 1. I forgot to show you how to create bill of material. Okay, so go to annotation, go to bill of material, and we need to tell it that we want a bill of material of the entire assembly. Select it, hit OK, and then click anywhere in space, and that's where it'll generate your table. It does take a while, so it's connected to your assembly. So there's our bill of material. Double click. It's similar to an Excel spreadsheet, but it doesn't have the power or the all those fancy commands that you see in Excel. If you want to create your own table and fill it in manually, you can create a table. Click in space, generates it. Notice how this view is active. So it threw the table in with this view, which is a mistake. So let me delete this and recreate it again. Let's go over to the Catia tree, and this is sheet 1. I'm going to right click, edit sheet. Notice the view is no longer red, the frame is no longer red, so now it's going to place the table on the sheet and not in the view. And you can manually type in whatever you want. Okay, so I'm just typing in random keystrokes here. Alright, click. Or you can generate an Excel spreadsheet. So if you go over to, I believe it's Tools. Oh, no, Annotation. You can go over here and Insert Object. So if you go to Insert Object, you can create an Excel spreadsheet, right? So you can hit OK and it'll generate an Excel spreadsheet and save a separate file as an Excel spreadsheet. Or maybe you already have an Excel spreadsheet with all the bill of material information. So you can go create from, hit OK or browse, my mistake, and pick the file and it'll link it to your drawing. If you want to see the Excel spreadsheet, it'll show it to you once you hit OK. If you want to just show the Excel spreadsheet icon, you can just select display as icon, and then once you hit OK, you can always double click on the icon and it'll then show you the Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so I'll skip that part. All right, so let's go to fourth sheet. Okay, so let's say we wanted to create a reference view of part of the assembly, not the entire assembly, just part of it. So let's go back to the sheet and we're going to create an isometric view. But this time I'm only going to select a few items. So let me roll down a little bit on the mouse, on the wheel, and I'm going to select a few items. So I'm going to hold on to the control key. I'm going to select the floor, the outer walls, but I don't want to select the front walls, just so we have a clear look at the tanks. Okay, and then let go of the control key, select the flat surface, and it's going to only generate the parts that we've selected, and click. Okay, and one thing I meant to bring in were the tanks. I'm going to show you how to bring in the tanks in a minute. Let's change the scale here to 1 to 8. Okay, so let's say I wanted to bring in the inner walls and tanks. So let's go back, right click. We're going to modify links and we're going to add. Okay, so we're going to add new items. So let's go back to the assembly. Hold on to the control key. Well, first, before we hit the control key, let's roll down. So hold on to the control key, bring in the tanks, bring in the inner walls, and let go of the control key and select the flat surface. Oh, actually, it's already generated, so I have to start over again. Hold on to the control key, select the items you want to bring in. The view's already generated, so I don't have to click on a flat surface. Go back to the drawing, and it added all the items, as you can see. And let's add, so you have to click add items. So it's adding them here to the top window. So just to show you that it did add them to the top window. You can also remove. So if you wanted to remove something, you can always hit the X and it'll remove that item. Hit OK. And let's hit update, right click update. And there it is. Okay, so you can always go back and modify it. Okay, just don't forget to update. Alright, so that's the end of this video. Hope you liked it. See you in the next one.